Nobody's ever going to be perfect, including you, Fred in Boston. You make mistakes too. So will your painters. That's okay. But what matters is how they respond. And are they coachable? Are they willing to correct? Are they willing to get back up to the level they need to be?
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brushbusters. Stoked to be here.
Brushbusters!
Let's go. My name is Jesse Tarrant. I'm one of the coaches here at Paint and Growth, and I have Chris Wolf, another one of our amazing coaches, on with us today. Stoked to be here with you, Chris. Stoked to be here without Mike. Actually, it's fun for us to hop on together. And
it's like substitute teacher time.
That's right.
We're running the classroom. The inmates are running the asylum.
So yeah, we got a bunch of letters, but before that, we're just gonna get rolling. Chris, what tell us something about what you just came back from Burning Man, right?
Yes. So I've been doing a few episodes today. I won't regale you with the Burning Man stories, but one thing I'll say, people, Mike always say, "What are you qualified? What makes you qualified?" You know what makes me qualified? I run my own construction business. I just spent most of the last month on vacation. Everything's still going great, and I still have time to be here today for Paint and Growth. So I'm all about the work-life balance. I'm all about getting shit done, making sure that it's done so that you can have the life you want to have. We can talk numbers and this and that, but that's really what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table today, Jesse?
Well, like you, I'm in the middle of the woods right now. Actually, I'm at a cabin in the middle, just outside of Kelowna, British Columbia. For those of you guys that know, I'm looking at just greenery on 4 acres of land at my friend's place. And everything is still rock and rolling. We got time to do these podcasts today. So a lot of synergies around that. And I know for myself, that was one of my big intentions of with my business, was to have the location freedom and to be able to, roam around and still have things go and still, be making money, roaming around the world and whatnot. So we're actually just starting about 6 months of travel. This is our first little road trip now. So we're getting after it.
Thus starts our new game. Where in the world is Jesse Tarrant?
Yeah, that's right. Today, Kelowna. Tomorrow, I'm going to see a bunch of people here in Arizona. I'll see you down in Arizona, and then we'll see where life takes us after that.
Please tell me you're not driving to Arizona.
No, we are flying.
Okay.
All right, nice. Man. Should we hop in and get rock and rolling?
I'm ready, brother. Let's go.
All right. Why don't you start off the first one there?
Cool. Finding a niche. Hey, coaches and brushbusters. I'm doing a little bit of everything right now. Residential, commercial, interior, exterior. But I feel like I'm not really excelling at any one particular thing. I want to find a niche that sets me apart. How did you decide what niche to focus on? And how do I know what's the right fit for my business? Best, Jake in Spokane. A fellow Northwesterner. Jake in Spokane. You want to tackle this first?
Yeah, I can start off with this one first. I think this is a super common theme, especially when you're getting going. You're in a position where, and I think a lot of people will say that they'll just take any job that they can get right now, right? They're just like, just give me any freaking job. Like, I will paint anything. And it's easy when you're in the beginning to be in that mindset. One of the first things that I did is I actually just paused and said, like, what are the type of jobs that I do want to paint? What are my clients that are ideal that I want to work with? And that was actually the starting point for my business, right? And I said, I want to work with residential in the beginning and just get a ton of reps in, right? Because there's way more reps. The cash flow cycles are way shorter. Like, I'm not going to have to manage like a lot of delayed payments and whatnot with the residential. And I'm going to look for big homes, and most of them are hardy board homes that are really easy to paint. They're exteriors, and they have a little bit of trim that's maybe flaking, but not too much. And they have a nice car and they have a nice yard. Because what does that tell me is that they're willing to invest in their property and in their money. And so, what I did is I just found about 15 key pockets around my area and just exclusively focused on those, and mainly focused on exterior because I knew that they were really profitable jobs, and they were they're really easy to paint and produce. And that was my starting point, right? And I would say if you're not at least $3 million just doing that, then don't focus on anything else. Like most people try to diversify way too quick, in my opinion. And I don't know if you have any comments on that
They're
piece.
just chasing every dollar that comes in, right? It's a scarcity
Yeah.
mindset. Oh,
Yeah.
well, there's this opportunity and I got to try to do it because I don't know if I'm going to get any other opportunities. So I'm going to paint this interior in the middle of July, even though it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's like, first off, slow down, take a deep breath, right? I'm going to take it from a slightly different angle. One thing that I'm thinking about when you're talking about your niche, you've got to be able to get to your niche, right? So it's either got to be where you live right now is accessible to it, or you need to move to a different part of where you live. I happen to know Spokane very well. So Jake in Spokane, I hope you live near the South Hill because that's where the best money is for painting in Spokane. I'm in Seattle. It's not far. I've done a bunch of projects in Spokane stand. But for, like, where do you want to live, right? So when I settled it, I live in Redmond, Washington. It's the home of Microsoft. We got Amazon down the road. I got Microsoft. I got Boeing, T-Mobile, Costco, all these giant corporations that have all these employees, right? And same thing, newer homes, mostly hardy board, et cetera, et cetera. It's great. So I actually moved there on purpose because I was living in the Seattle area. It's part of this greater Seattle area, but I moved to that part of the Seattle area because I knew I wanted to keep my construction business going, and that was the best market to do it. So that's part of, and it's a great place to live, right? So that's kind of the first part is like, where do you want to live? I knew I wanted to live in Seattle. And so I settled in, one of the more affluent parts of Seattle, and I started servicing that. I was able to afford to live there because those are my customers, right? So that's part of it. It's like, where are you, right? Because if you love living downtown in the city, then maybe residential homes are probably not going to be your cup of tea. Maybe you're going to want to get into like apartments and condos and interiors and all that. So that's like the very, very first thing I think of. When I think of niche, it's got to be something that fits with who you are and where you want to be in life. I wanted to be in the burbs a little, so I went to an affluent burb, and then I had plenty of work. I tend to agree with you, Jesse. I think anyone in the painting industry, crawl before you walk before you run, right? Like exterior residential is going to be your easiest ticket to big success. I think the most of the successful contractors I know either started there or still are there in terms of how much of a percentage of their business is that work. You get into commercial, it's a different game, dude. Like you said, there's longer pay times, there's lower margins. There's trade-offs. You get these big projects. You guys can work there for a couple of months, or a couple of weeks at least. So there's trade-offs, but start with where you want to be and then figure out what the best way to make money is where you want to be. And most of the time, in most markets, it's probably going to be residential exteriors. Start there, get good there, especially if you don't care. Like I'm reading through this question. Jake says he's doing a little bit of everything. It doesn't seem like he's really attached to anything. If you're not attached, like some people love interior, right? If you're like some dude who just loves interior, like power to you, go for it. But unless you have if you're a Jake in Spokane and you don't have a strong opinion, start with res repaint on the exterior. Go from there, build your business, and then you'll get skilled painters. You can take on other things. You'll get cash flow that will enable you to take on bigger projects. But also, think about where you want to live. If you want to move to Arizona because you're tired of the winter, we know a lot of people like that, right? Then figure out the best painting business to run in Arizona. It might not be a house exterior repaint given the temperatures, right? Or it's just a different business cycle. But figure out where you want to live and then pick the niche that place needs. Does that make sense? I'm ranting.
Yeah, I love the way you answered that, which is, I think a lot of people just automatically look for, like I said, is it commercial? Is it exterior? Is it strata and whatnot? And the way, you're approaching it is, how do I actually want my life to look like? Right. And actually answering that question first, and then that can dictate you. And then, a lot of the things that we talk about in painter growth is having a business that actually serves you, not you serving it and working for it all the time, but actually having a business that supports the lifestyle and the type of life that you want to live. Right. And so I think you've answered that just, beautifully. And, and just further on the niching as well is, you can say, like we said, exterior repaints. And like, again, you can take that a step further and say hardy board exterior repaints or interior kitchen cabinets, and just really focus on that one area first and be, the benefits of niching like that is if you look at I love the example of a general like GP doctor, right? What they get paid versus a brain surgeon. What do they get paid? Considerably higher, right? Because it's so specialized. And that's actually what you can do with your painting company as well. When you become really specialized and you just dominate one little pocket, you can charge more. You become an absolute expert in that area, and people know that you're known for that, right? And so, and you can build
Well,
it.
the referrals.
And the referrals,
When
right?
you're
Because
the,
it's
when you're
specific
the
project.
cabinet guy, when
Yeah.
you're the cabinet guy,
Mhm.
everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you gotta call Jesse because he's the cabinet guy. You need your cabinets done? Call Jesse."
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you can niche with or niche with that type of project, or like you said too, choose that area, and then you become the, the Redmond guy, right? Like the Redmond in that specific neighborhood, right? And then you're just dominating. We talked about this all the time too. We're just dominating those neighborhoods, and I love that way of niching down as well.
Yeah, like own where you live. And
All right.
if where you live isn't where the money is, maybe unless you really love where you live, you might want to consider moving somewhere else.
Yeah. And you might have to move there before you're comfortable moving there, right? Go where the money
Sure.
is, right?
Yeah. But if those are your clients, then you'll be able to afford to live there.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Let's should we keep rocking?
Let's move. I'm ready.
All right. This one is handling employee mistakes. So, hi, coaches, brush busters. My crew makes mistakes on the jobs, like missing spots or being sloppy with cleanup. I don't want to be a micromanager, but I need to make sure everything is done right. How can I hold my team accountable without constantly looking over their shoulders? That's thanks. And that's from Nick from San Francisco. This is another big question, and I can totally resonate with this one. I think you have too. We've dealt with a lot of this before. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, this is like an existential question, right? Like we can talk tactics, we can talk big picture. There's so many different ways to take this one. Number one thing I learned a long time ago, the hard way about painting: finish the section you're on. Like we can talk a lot of tactics and a lot of motivation, and inspiration, and incentivize, and this and that, and accountability. You can take this 19,000 directions, but you got to train your painters. It really, in anything you do. If you have kids and they're doing the dishes, if you are walking the dog, like it doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, finish the job you're on. Right? Like I would almost think that if this person is having crews like sloppy and over here and over there, I'm like, what's your business like? Are you like over here, over there, to these jobs, to those jobs, to this, right? But on a really granular level, finish what you're doing. And the way you can teach that and hold that accountable is when you're coaching them. It's like, you're going to do this 10-foot section. And this 10-foot section is going to be perfect before we move on. And, at first they might grumble. It's actually pretty easy to make a 10-foot by 10-foot square, I'm short, so like 6-foot by 10-foot rectangle, right? You can make that pretty perfect, and you can do all the touch-ups, and you can hit it all, and you can have one drop cloth down, and you can make sure it's before you move to the next section, right? Or when you're on the ladder, everything you can reach on the ladder, you're 20 feet up in the air and you're scraping soffits and you're doing primer and caulk and this and that. Make sure every single thing you can reach on that ladder is perfect. Done before you move on. If you start teaching your painters that and holding them accountable like that, you'd be amazed at how A, much quicker they're going to be, but B, how much the mistakes are cut down. Or the times, right?
Yeah. And just building off that a little bit, I remember back in, it was 2015, and we were operating on piece rate, right? And my painters were not hitting budgets, and we kept going over, mainly on full exteriors. I noticed that we kept going over. And so something that I did, kind of taking what you're saying, painting one section at a time, I actually would, if there's 4 sides in a house, right? We would always do the left and the rear and get those fully completed before we were allowed to touch the right and the front. And that one switch alone had our crew starting to beat budget by 20, 30, 40% just by breaking up the project into 2 smaller projects. And so then at the end of the job, you're not running around trying to get downspouts and, all the touch ups around the whole place. It's like, it's literally just a couple sides. And it made it so much more simple and systemized. And so what I would say to anybody out there, it's like, if you get your crews to do what Chris is saying, is like paint section by section, make sure it's good to go. And then your big projects, full exteriors or interiors and whatnot, literally just do 2 sides fully complete, 2 full coats. Don't even start prep on the other sides until those are done. and I guarantee you'll up your efficiency by 20 to 40%.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too, like I touched on before, you got to look in the mirror, because every business is a reflection of the owner and the leadership.
Yeah, yeah.
People are like,
And
my
then
painters are, how are you?
Yeah. And then the other part too, if you don't want to, and I totally understand what Nick's saying about not wanting to micromanage people. Nobody likes to be micromanaged as well. And so there's a couple things on that piece. Number one is, what is that initial expectations that you're setting with your painters for the deliverables and what the job site is supposed to look like and the quality of the jobs and that initial contract that you're signing with them. So make sure you have a contract and it's very black and white clear on what is expected. And if they're missing that, then you can actually have an appropriate conversation with them. Most of the time, what I see is that people have these expectations, but they're living in their head and they haven't actually communicated it to their crew. And so then they start to get really frustrated, right? But they're like, hey, have you actually talked to them about that? And most of the time they haven't. So that's a little bit more tactful on before they even get to a job site. And then when you're on a job site, again, something very simple that completely changed my life on this was implementing a daily checklist. And they had to check off at the end of each day that all these things were done. And so instead of me saying, hey, are all these things done? It was, you have to, the part of our process here is at the end of each day and at the end of each job is you check off the checklist and you have to sign off on it. And so now I don't feel like I'm micromanaging because everything that I would want to say there is already on the systemized checklist now. And that's just a part of our systems that we have.
That's what I was going to say too, is give them the tools and systems to hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
The checklist is great. And, once painters really understand piece rate or they understand how you're incentivizing them, if they really get it, that they can make more by doing a better, cleaner job faster, they're going to start to hold each other accountable too. Like, hey, Bob, are you going to scrape that? Let's get this done before we go over there, right? And always make sure you're always teaching them in an organized way, right? Like, are you teaching them to work from top to bottom? Are you teaching them to work from side to side? Are you teaching them to do the hardest part on the wall first, and then the next hardest, and then the next hardest, and the next hardest? That's a little bit more expanded what I'm talking about. Like, how are you leading them, right? Are you giving them the tools? Are you showing them how to do it? Are you, creating organization? Or a lot of times what happens is the leader or the manager isn't giving them much direction, and then the painters don't really know what they're doing, and then the leader's like, oh, these painters are so disorganized. So many touch-ups. It's like, let's make sure they have those tools in that context so they can be successful without you having to be there.
Yeah, perfect. And like the last note on this too for Nick, if you're still the production manager in your business, which it sounds like you are, I'm just curious, like what is your van or what does your vehicle look like, right? And if right now you're looking around, you're listening to this and it's a complete mess, it's like start there and set your example that your van, your production vehicle is spotless. And then your guys are going to see that. And that's going to be a reflection of what starts to show up in your site. So again, just building on what Chris is saying is that everything that is going on is just a reflection of your habits and how you're showing up in the business.
Yeah. And the common mistake that people make in not addressing these issues, they're like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have time. We got to go. It's like, okay, so do you have time to do 10 man hours of touch-ups on this house?
Yeah, I was saying, I don't have time to not clean my van. Like that's just the rule, right? It's like the second, third, fourth downstream occurrences we got of that, right? All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. You want to handle the next one, Chris? Transitioning from an owner operator to a manager.
Ooh, this is a fun one. Dear Brush Busters, hey, Coach's Corner, hashtag. I've been running the business myself for years. Okay, good job. But as we grow, I know I need to step back from the day-to-day painting and focus more on managing. It's hard to let go and to trust others with the work. How do I make that transition smoothly without losing control? Thanks, Fred in Boston.
Boston. I was just watching the roast of Tom Brady last night. A lot of Boston references. It's
was
really
that your first time seeing it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, dude, it's so hilarious.
Yeah,
so hilarious. Really, I had to explain some of the football jokes to my wife, but my God. Anyone who hasn't watched it, I don't care if you get offended or not, go watch it. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
you will likely be offended and you will still be laughing.
Yeah, if you take one thing from this Brush Busters today, please go watch that because it'll make you laugh at least. All right.
Count it as your self-care time. We're really big on self-care for entrepreneurs. Take an hour and a half.
Yeah, laughter is the best medicine of all, right? So, all right, let's go into this a little bit. So, nice work running the business. But as you grow, stepping back from the day to day. So there's a few pieces up here. Number one thing is that most of the time in the mindset I have is that when I hire someone, they might be able to do like 80% of what I would do with it, right? I never expect them to do everything that I would do, because if I expect them to do exactly how I would do, I'm just never going to find a person that I can even hire. So just being okay that something might be 80% how I would do it gets me over the hump of that's actually good enough for the most cases. And then as you get into that, you get over that fear and that hump, you will eventually find people where, no, I hire people all the time. They're considerably better at whatever the activity that I'm hiring them for. But in the beginning, just to get yourself comfortable about quote unquote Fred losing, control, you're actually going to get more control by giving up control, because you're going to have more control of your time. You're going to have more control about the focuses that you have on your business, and putting that trust in other people is actually just putting trust in yourself that you're going to hire the right people. You're going to hire the right people that you can trust, that can be on the job sites, that are going to take care of your customers. And if you take care of your staff, your employees, your subcontractors, they will take care of your clients in your business.
Right? Absolutely. That's so zen of you. I love that about you. If you give up control, you will gain control.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We need like a gong sound effect. I don't know who's doing post-production, but if you could throw a gong sound effect in there, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be good. So yeah, how do you make the transition? I think it is one step at a time, right? You don't need to go out and hire a ton of people and switch from the owner operator like right into managing 5 crews right away, right? You can do this one step at a time. And as soon as you see that you hire a painter, well, listen, if you hire a painter and they make your life considerably harder and more miserable, then you're going to be less likely to want to do this, right? That's probably just not the right hire. So don't get discouraged if you do that. I've been through, I've hired many people that haven't worked out. And then when you do find that person that you hire them, and within the first few days or week, they make your life so much easier, you're then going to have the insight and conviction that this actually works, right? And that conviction is probably more important than anything, is just knowing that you can find those really, really good people out there. So you can take it one step at a time. Start with, adding, one other really solid painter, and take your time to make sure that they're person, and then hire another one. Then take a step back from that job site. Then you can add, another 2 painters for a crew, and test out some subcontractors. But, you don't have to jump right from owner operator to, trying to run, a ton of crews right away. Just take it one step at a time.
Yeah, and I think the first steps that I recommend, because we get variations of this question a lot, right? The first steps that I recommend is hire for things you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like most painting business owners don't really want to keep their own books. Great. Be an entrepreneur, hire a bookkeeper. Or a lot of guys who like painting don't really like doing sales. Great. Let's find you a salesperson or 2. Or even on the job site. Okay, you've been the owner operator. You've been doing it for a long time. Hire a guy to mask the windows, right? So you can just do the spraying, because masking and prep sucks, right? Or whatever it is, start with the things you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And then, you'll get to a point at some point, if you're painting, like to be a true business owner, at some point, you're going to have to stop painting. But you can start hiring people onto the crew and start training them the way you expect. And if little Johnny starts with you and works with you for a year or 2 and really understands your expectations and takes it to heart, then, all of a sudden he's big Johnny and he's ready to go run his own crew, right? Mm-hmm. So like you said, it takes time. But my first steps that I'm recommending these days are hire for things you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Keep doing the things you want to do as long as possible. Like for me, I love doing sales. So even though I have like interns and salespeople in my construction business, I still do a lot of sales myself. I closed like over 2 million this year already, because I love doing the sales. Mm-hmm. And so I've hired all these other parts of the business to support that, so I can still have time to do the sales, because that's fun for me. If you want to keep spraying, right? Well, make sure your crews can have houses prepped and you can just roll up on the second or third day, spray out the body, and they can finish up, right? Like, you start build like it's your business. There's value into you getting to do the things you want to do. But ultimately, if you're trying to make the transition, start by hiring things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
That'll be easier. And then like later, it'd be easier for you to step away as you've already gotten more into the hiring and team building and you've developed some people that can take over for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's going to change over time too. Like what you don't like to do today and what you do like to do, it's going to evolve and change, and just know that that's going to evolve and change. So similar to you, I still do love sales, but for whatever reason, last August, it was like August 15th. And I remember sitting in a coffee shop and like my mind was like, I can't go do another estimate. I can't step on another job site. It was like, I just hit this like crazy switch where I was like, even though I love sales, I was like, I just no longer felt like I could do that anymore. And then within 2 weeks, I worked out a deal with my manager at that time, and he took over everything. And I moved to, coaching him once a month at that time. And so just know that things are going to evolve, and you're going to adapt. Just because you like doing something today, keep doing it. But there'll be a time that even if it's something you like, it might be time to move on to the next level and play a different game that you're playing, right? So, and Fred, just one thing from your question was when you said managing people, I would just switch that in your mind to leading people, right? And that's how you're going to actually start to build a business. Is you don't necessarily, if you're looking at it for managing people, I don't know that many people that truly like managing people, but leading people and helping people see themselves as a bigger possibility than they see themselves, and leading them to that into the next level in their life. And I think you'll see much better results. And I think and it sounds to me like just by switching that one word, you could be a lot more excited about it than how you're feeling right now.
Well, it's really interesting you say that, Jesse, because on the next sentence or two sentences later, how do I do that without losing control? So it sounds like Fred in Boston, you want to manage people. I want to be in control. I want to make sure standards are held. It's like, actually, you can hold high standards without being over their shoulders by having really quality training, really clear expectations of what you're going to do. And as they're going more and more on their own, you check in and you hold accountability. Like, the level needs to be here. If something's here, you address it, you bring the level to here. Nobody's ever going to be perfect, including you, Fred in Boston. You make mistakes too. So will your painters. That's okay. But what matters is how they respond. And are they coachable? Are they willing to correct? Are they willing to get back up to the level they need to be?
Yeah. All right, Fred, hopefully that helps you. And nice work making that transition, because it is a massive transition. And don't think that it's something light or something that is, yeah, of course it's going to feel a little bit foreign, having been owner operator for so long. And it does take time, and it's one step at a time. So hopefully that helps you.
You're going to be so happy you did, Fred. When you're on the golf course and you're getting painted, you're going to be really happy.
That's right. All right, man, let's knock off one more here, Chris. So investing in marketing. Hey, brush busters and coaches. I know I need to have my marketing game to grow, but there's so many options out there: Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, SEO, etc. I'm not sure which one is worth investing in. What marketing strategies have worked best for you, especially when starting to scale? That's Steve from Idaho. Okay.
I have a controversial take here, so I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay.
And then I'll come in with my controversial take that hopefully doesn't offend Mike Gore Hickman too much.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So I would say when looking at your marketing, the first thing is, do you actually know exactly how many leads you need in a week? Right. And understanding that number, because of course there's hundreds of different marketing avenues and tactics you could do. What I generally find, though, is when you take your annual goal and you break it down to whatever number of jobs that is, a number of estimates, and then number of leads on a weekly basis, it's considerably lower than people think.
Yep.
And if you don't have foundational pieces in place from your marketing strategy standpoint, investing in these online things that you're suggesting in here, Steve, you could flush down a lot of money down the drain, and you could just waste a lot of money. So I would say, first and foremost is, do you have your basic strategies in place? right? Are you targeting your small pockets? If you are, then to scale your business, you could just open up another pocket, right? And dial in that area, and then know how many leads that you need, and make sure that you have core strategies of your job site marketing and signs and flyers, and that is dialed in. And then that will contribute to, and if you've maximized all of those strategies there, then you can start taking a look at what things potentially online that you do want to invest in. And it's going to differ for every geographic difference of, where you're going to, get the best returns from. And so you got to experiment a little bit and know there. But I would say for, 99.9% of people that I talk to, they're asking the wrong question here, which is, how do I, throw money at, online, where, guess what? Where I live, there's 1,700 other painting companies, and most of them are investing in those same strategies, and you're competing for the same work. I just don't like to play that game. My company, this year we're going to spend $0 on online advertising, because I don't fish in those seas.
That's my hot take. You stole my thunder. I should have gone first.
That's your controversial opinion. Okay, good. Well,
Yeah,
we're on the same page here.
Yeah, not that controversial. This is poor content. Yeah. Whenever someone asks me which site to use, I say don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Because there was a time when it was new and it was innovative and you could get a lot of business, but now it's saturated. Pay-per-click, SEO, all that stuff saturated. I know companies that spend 30 grand a month and aren't even like at the top. I mean, we're talking like big multi-million-dollar companies, right? Just pissing money away. Don't do it. You're just wasting money. You're no differentiation. You're not going to be able to spend enough to compete with the big dogs. They're crappy leads anyway, whatever you do get, right? They're so unqualified. It's so easy to click on something and then be like, never mind, I don't care, right? Get out of that. Everybody. I'm sorry if you're paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month right now. Stop. If you're paying some marketing company that much, stop. Terminate your contract. It'll save you money. I feel very passionately about this.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, I don't want to be negative all the time. I want to be positive. What can we do, right? So one of the things I always coach is three-pronged approach. You got your ground game, your digital game. Where's my camera? There we go. Ground game, digital game, special ops. And you need strategies from all three. Just like any sports or any business or any like effective plan, right? There's going to be multiple parts to it. So ground game, you mentioned it a bit, Jesse, right? Like signs, door knockers, door knocking, neighborhood events, right? Wrapped trucks, flyers that you mail out, like unglamorous stuff. Pick a few of those strategies, make sure those are happening. Digital, when I say digital, I'm talking like neighborhood Facebook groups, nextdoor.com, right? Like, I don't know what has happened in the last few years, but like nobody uses Facebook anymore, but they still use Facebook groups. My neighborhood Facebook group for where I live is so hot. That's where like anytime I need a dog groomer, need a painter, I need a recommendation for a good ice cream place to take my kids, right? Like that's where the activity is now. Neighbors working together online, right? So in your neighborhood, but also any of your customers, you should be coaching your customers. That's the kind of digital online presence you want. It's organic, it's free, and you're going to get way better leads and referrals, right?
Yep.
Last one, special ops. My favorite special op tactic is home shows. If you're not in home shows, you need to pause this podcast, Google all of the local home shows in the next 12 months, email all of them right now and sign up for every single freaking one of them. Because you can get 30 to 40 to 80 leads in 2 days or 3 days at a home show. And then you're good for a while.
Yep.
So you got to balance ground game, digital game, special ops, but get the hell off of pay-per-click and SEO.
I love it, man. I'm glad finally somebody agrees with me on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? I think there's companies that have a pretty legit offering, but it's so hard to make that money really worth it with online spending right now.
Yep. Absolutely agree. And the other thing too, when thinking about marketing and scale, one question I love to pose, and Steve, really think about this as you're scaling, is are you converting every single customer you do into 3 more jobs? It's a question I always ask. Every time we book one job, our goal is to convert it into 3 more. And then take those 3 and repeat the same process and convert into 3 more from that. And then we just keep repeating this process over and over and over again. So really think through your current clients and lists and everything you've done right now. And if you're not turning every one job into 3 right now, that is your lowest hanging fruit to really scaling your business right there.
Totally.
Yep.
Also, I didn't listen to anything you said after process. Process is my favorite Canadian word.
I don't even know how to say it. So, all right. Well, that was super fun, Chris. I really enjoyed that. Glad we were able to answer a bunch of these questions today. And for those of you guys out there, if you guys do have questions, please do send us an email, send us a letter with your question. We're going to answer it.
A letter, snail mail. Please put it in the snail mail.
Put it in the snail. I'll put it in the mailbox and hit us up with your direct mail. Send it to us too, and we'll answer as many questions as we can.
Real painters, real problems, brush busters.
That's great. Thanks, guys.